What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Robert Downey Jr. is Dr. Doom. I know we haven't even had 24 hours to think about this yet, but go ahead and let me know your thoughts about it in the comments down below. I know it's quite controversial right now, and I know there are many people out there who do not like this decision, who say that it kind of seems like Marvel is desperate at this point, and people are really bummed that another actor doesn't get a shot at Dr. Doom. But I believe I might know what Marvel Studios' plans actually are. And if I'm correct, and even if I'm just a little correct, I believe that people will actually like what they are going to do with Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom. So if you don't like it so far, listen to this video, then tell me at the end if your mind has changed or if it's still the same. In which, again, I totally understand. Now, the first thing that we have to address is that the Russo brothers and an article written by Variety both say that Robert Downey Jr. is playing Victor Von Doom. So a lot of people were wondering, is he simply playing a Tony Stark variant who is evil, or is he actually playing Victor Von Doom? The Russo brothers say Victor, Variety says Victor, but I don't believe them. I actually don't think that's the case. I do believe that he is going to be playing a Tony Stark variant. And let's remember, the Russo brothers have lied to us before. Remember when they said Avengers Endgame was not called Avengers Endgame, and then it indeed was. I'm obviously not saying that they are bad people and they are liars just for the sake of being liars. They obviously did this so we could be surprised, and they didn't want to spoil anything. I believe that they are doing the exact same thing here. They don't want us to know that it's going to be a Tony Stark variant, but several insiders have already come out and stated that yes, it is indeed going to be a Tony Stark variant. And to me, this makes the most sense. And also, side note to acknowledge that this kind of is a full circle moment for Robert Downey Jr. because for the Fantastic Four in 2005, he actually auditioned and was in talks to play Dr. Doom for that film, in which obviously he did not get cast for the role, but now he is Dr. Doom. So that is a cool moment there. But one thing I want to focus on is what Robert Downey Jr. said when he came out as Dr. Doom at the Comic-Con panel. He said, "New mask, same task." Now, a lot of people are going to look into this and theorize a bunch of different things, and it hasn't even been a day yet. We'll obviously have a lot more theories as time goes by. I also think he'll be introduced in the Fantastic Four, which we'll get into in this video. But a lot of people are wondering about that same task line that he spoke, because it makes it seem like the same task could be the same task that Tony Stark had in the MCU. Now, again, there are a lot of things that this could mean. The same task could simply mean that he is now tasked with playing one of the most iconic Marvel characters that there is. Sure, but I want to actually tie this back to Age of Ultron, where Tony Stark had his vision that would go on to really affect him. And he wanted a suit of armor around the world, and he tried to create Ultron. Well, he did create Ultron, but he essentially wanted his Ultron bots all around the world. Well, I think there's an alternate reality where Tony Stark actually made this happen, and he became kind of maybe a dictator. Maybe he became kind of evil. Maybe he became superior Iron Man from the comics. This would also bring in full circle, again, that moment from Age of Ultron. But either way, I think that Doom, Robert Downey Jr.'s Doom, should be a Tony Stark variant, and here's why. At the end of the multiverse saga, it's been rumored for a while that we are going to go into a soft reboot. And after this soft reboot happens, we are going to get old characters returning, played by new actors like Iron Man, Black Widow, Captain America, a new Hulk probably. A lot of these characters who are gone will come back, completely different characters played by completely different people. If this happens, I believe they will do the same for Dr. Doom. Because if you have followed the channel for a while, you know that I thought that bringing in Dr. Doom right now was a mistake. It doesn't really seem like there's enough time to really give Doom the proper time in the MCU that he deserves. This is possibly Marvel's greatest villain ever. Obviously, that's a preferential choice, but he is arguably one of the best Marvel villains of all time. I think a lot of people think like me, and they don't want him just introduced real quick, just for him to be in 2 movies, maybe 3 movies, and then he's gone forever. No more Dr. Doom. That would be tragic, but luckily, I don't think Marvel Studios is doing that, because I don't think Marvel Studios is introducing Victor Von Doom, but I think simply this Dr. Doom is a variant of Tony Stark. Because there are actually a lot of benefits for this Doom to be a variant of Tony Stark. For starters, I don't really need to remind anybody of this, but imagine what it would be like when Doom goes up against the Avengers and finally takes his mask off and they see that he's actually Tony Stark. This would be an incredible moment. Imagine Peter Parker, Spider-Man, trying to go fight Doom, who is actually a Tony Stark variant. Imagine Hawkeye and Bruce Banner and others trying to fight somebody that they've loved, at least a variant of them. It would be hard, and visually it would be pretty epic to see. But one of the biggest things that Doom being a variant of Tony Stark would do for the MCU is make it to where eventually we could get an actual Victor Von Doom. Because I really don't think they can pull off having Robert Downey Jr. play Victor Von Doom with his backstory, with Latveria, with his mother, with Mephisto, the whole backstory. There's not enough time to really bring that into light in the MCU. Definitely not before Avengers Doomsday, and after that, that's probably where the multiverse is going to be destroyed and we'll go into, say, a Battle World story. So there really isn't time to do all of that, and I know fans and really myself really want to see Doom's origins and backstories. And Doom isn't a villain that should just come and go super quickly, but that again is something that having this Doom be a variant of Tony Stark makes possible. This Doom, which could be a variant of Iron Man, could come in and out very quickly, and then in the new rebooted multiverse, we could have the Victor Von Doom come into play and have him start in the beginning with now every character that Marvel Studios can use, which of course now after the soft reboot will be the Avengers, the Fantastic Four, the X-Men, Doctor Doom, everything. This is essentially going to be the start of what we truly wanted the MCU to be. And Marvel knows that. And Kevin Feige has actually talked about it before. You know, he said, hey, we haven't had access to all of the characters that we've wanted to use. So we've had to kind of adjust and make the MCU what it is today. However, now they have all of the characters, but they're not going to just kind of stop everything that they're doing. So the soft reboot makes a lot of sense. Start from the beginning and build it up the way that ideally it should have been from the very beginning. If this is how it happens, I really like this. Doom is a variant of Tony Stark. He probably dies in Avengers Secret Wars, but in the soft reboot and whatever new universe we end up in, we get a new Victor Von Doom, the true Doctor Doom. Now, there are actual instances in the comics where Tony Stark does end up becoming Doctor Doom. There's even a what if story where they essentially switch bodies. And even in Doomsday in the Ultimate comics, we have the story of Reed Richards and the Maker, his evil variant. I think that could very well happen in the MCU, but for Tony Stark. We have Tony Stark, or we had Tony Stark, and now his evil variant. And what's interesting is that this could still kind of give us a little bit of the same backstory of the actual Victor Von Doom, because I do think that this Doctor Doom is going to be introduced in the Fantastic Four, because we know, and it is now officially confirmed, they confirmed this at Comic-Con, that the Fantastic Four takes place in an alternate universe in the 60s, in a retro futuristic 60s. So we know that they're going to have to leave their universe and come in contact with ours at some point in time. I think Doctor Doom is going to come with them. Because remember, Doctor Doom is still one of the smartest Marvel characters out there. He went to college with Reed Richards, and their rivalry is one of the biggest parts of their story. And we could very well get that in a very simplistic way with Tony Stark. It's easy to see how Tony Stark and Reed Richards could have a pretty big rivalry, especially with the ego, the personality, the attitude of Tony Stark against Reed Richards. As far as that is concerned, it's really not hard to see how they could swap out Victor for Tony Stark. They're both geniuses, and perhaps when Galactus comes to the Fantastic Four's Earth, Tony Stark tries to warn Reed Richards and tells him that they actually need to abandon the Earth, they need to leave, and perhaps he creates some type of multiverse travel machine. And at the end, perhaps that is how the Fantastic Four and Tony Stark end up in the main 616 timeline, and that's perhaps how we go into Doomsday. I would really like to see some of the Ultron story play out though. Perhaps there's an alternate version of Tony Stark out there who did become successful in creating his Ultron bots, and he put them everywhere around the world. And perhaps somehow, because of this, he ends up kind of ruling the world. And right now it does seem like, since the next Avengers film is titled Doomsday, Kang is kind of out of the picture now. However, some insiders are stating that he is going to still play kind of a very minor role. And that would make sense given what Avengers Secret Wars is about in the comics, both stories. In both stories, Doctor Doom gets the power of the Beyonder or the Beyonders, and we had heard before that there was going to be a Kang variant that's kind of an ultimate Kang variant that is kind of the Beyonder at the same time. So perhaps Doom, at some point in time, comes in contact with Kang and steals his technology. It could be in the same universe where where Tony Stark is successful at creating his Ultron bots. So essentially he has a full-on army of Ultron bots and now the technology of Kang the Conqueror. This would make him kind of the ultimate ruler. And this wouldn't really require too much of Victor Von Doom's backstory. You still could link this in a little bit with the Fantastic Four, him having known Reed Richards in college, but then bring them into the multiverse story, have him take out Kang, since it's very clear they don't want Kang to be the villain anymore, steal his technology, and kind of be driven mad by the fact that he wanted to save everybody, that eventually he turns into the villain himself. Then after Avengers Secret Wars, they defeat him. We go into a new universe where we get a real Victor Von Doom. To me, that all works, and it works really well because Doctor Doom is a very important part of both Secret Wars stories. But like I said, a lot of people didn't want Victor Von Doom brought in right now because it doesn't seem like there's enough time to really introduce who he truly is, and there's not, which is why they should bring in Doom as a Tony Stark variant, which is what I believe they are going to do. So this is perfect. We can still get Doom playing a huge role in Secret Wars, but when he dies, it doesn't take away the actual character to use. And I will say, even if they don't do a soft reboot of the universe, there is still a variant of the real Victor Von Doom out there that could end up in a new universe or our restored multiverse after Secret Wars. And that's where we could get, again, a new Doom played by a new actor. So I think this is actually a good decision. I think it will all work out in the end and we will get a true Victor Von Doom eventually, but this does give us a Doctor Doom now for Secret Wars, and it also kind of does help Marvel out a lot with their Kang problem. And of course, let's be honest, they wanted to create some hype, and that is 100% what they did. Even if you hate this, you're talking about it. Everybody is talking about it right now. And I've even seen some of the comments of some people saying, hey, I haven't really been into Marvel recently, you know, since after Avengers Endgame and some of Phase 4, but after hearing this, I am so invested now in what is to come. So it did exactly what Marvel Studios wanted it to do. It got people back into it, interested in what's going to happen. And I definitely am excited for it to happen because I do believe it's a variant of Tony Stark, which I think is the best way to go. And I do believe eventually we will get a Victor Von Doom and all will be well. Plus, not to mention, I really want a good Tony Stark variant fight against this evil Tony Stark Doom variant. I think that would be absolutely insane. So, did this happen to change your mind at all? If a real Victor Von Doom comes later on and is given the proper build-up like he deserves, does that make you feel better about Robert Downey Jr. playing Doom in the current MCU? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Please don't forget to like the video and subscribe because we're going to do a lot more videos about Doctor Doom and the upcoming Avengers films. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.